He's always got the time.
Is that because of his... I can't say that. He's got a
Well,
watch.
we
Ever
can-
the size
we
of
can
his
zoom
watch.
into his watch. It's a great watch, but he's always got the time.
Welcome to The Watch. My name's Ben Gibson and I'm excited to be back in the podcast game. To kick things off, I've decided to face my demons and go straight to my biggest rival, Kade Chandler. All right, Kade Chandler, let's get into it. The inaugural guest of The Watch. Where's that sit in career accomplishments for you?
It's right at the top, mate.
Yeah,
right at the top. No, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
No, it's great to see you. It's been a while. Year and a half probably?
Yeah,
Long time.
18 months, yeah.
Long time between drinks. You were given the reins of the Gus and Gorney podcast after my departure from the club.
Yep.
How did that go?
I hear the subscribers and weekly listeners almost doubled, so...
Yeah, I heard it's nearly dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it is now, unfortunately, now
Yeah.
with Gussie
Not your
retiring, no longer in the loop, but yeah, which is sad, but it was disappointing, and there's an opportunity for you to get back into the market now in the D circle.
We'll swoop in.
Yeah.
How about you, media career? Lined up after footy?
Nah, farming career. I reckon.
Farming career.
Yeah.
How quickly will you be back there?
When the contract's finishing and when October, probably November. Yeah.
You had the opportunity to go back to Adelaide, or at any time you can really go back to Adelaide, but you have stayed with the Ds. What's the pull? Like, you are such a home person. You love getting back there in the off season.
Yeah.
But you're obviously happy staying in Melbourne.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably take it back to my under 18s year. Like, I wasn't a highly touted pick at all. Like, I only met with 2 clubs in my draft year, Melbourne being one of them. And they were probably the most interested throughout that whole journey. And then they didn't have to pick me, but they did. Like, they took a chance on a short little runt from South Australia who turned out to be a rookie. And like there was interest a few years ago after the 2021 granny from a few other clubs, but at the end of the day I decided to stay where I am because the club took a chance on me. I've created some incredible relationships along the way, and also the club's in a fantastic position to be successful, so there were a lot of things that were lining up, and I felt like I almost owed the club in a way to be loyal because they took a chance on me in the first place.
Funny you mentioned the rookie draft. We actually started the same week at the club. You wouldn't know that.
Really?
Yeah, the first week at the club was the national draft.
Was that November 2018?
Yeah, November 2018 was my first week at the club. I was 1 week out of uni.
Yeah, right.
And straight to the draft. So you obviously snuck through to the rookie draft. Did you think you were going to get picked?
Not really. I actually missed the draft. I didn't know that my name got read out. So because it happens over 2 days, once the national draft had finished, my name didn't get read out. I was pretty flat, and then the rookie draft started about half an hour later. But I was in South Australia, and I read that it was 6:30 or whatever Eastern time, and I thought it was Central time. So the rookie draft had started, and I didn't even know until my manager rang me and said, "Congrats, mate, being picked up by the Ds." And I was like, "Oh, wait, what?" Like, I had no idea. And then had a missed phone call from Simon Goodwin, and I thought I probably should call him back.
So what was the plan if that didn't turn out?
Well, at the time, I was actually a window cleaner in Adelaide. So I was living with a couple of mates, a couple of high school mates, and just trying to get by to see if I could get drafted. And if it didn't work out, I was probably planning on going overseas, going to Canada for maybe 6 months or a year to work on a farm over there. I thought, 18 years old, why not go out and explore the world and do something a little bit different? But I think if I wasn't playing footy, I would have ended up being a sheep shearer or farmer for sure.
Fairly different lifestyle. How do you find, like, clubland it's so unique being I obviously wasn't an AFL player, but I saw what it was like. It's such a unique industry. How do you find day to day going in there, being around your mates, really?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think of it as the best job in the world. Like, you literally get paid to play the sport that you love with, a band of brothers, and you're all there to do the same thing. You're all there. You have the same goal, and it's a pretty cool thing to come into work every day knowing that you're on the same page as everyone, aspiring to win the flag, aspiring to get better every day. So, everyone's purpose is pretty much the same, and we're all, like-minded individuals. We're all competitive, and everyone's got their own story. Like, that's one of the things I love most is you get blokes from all over the world come and play in our game, and it's pretty special. Some guys have got some cool stories, and yeah, it's a pretty special place to be. It's a very unique place to be. Football clubs there, they're amazing places, and footy seems to be an amazing uniter of people.
Yeah, you're certainly one of the people that you're a people person. You love a hug. You love a story. Do you
Guilty.
feel like it has helped you connect with the club?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like you come in, especially as an interstate player, 18 years old, raw, naive in a lot of ways, and you come in and there's 45 blokes that just wrap their arms around you straight away and take you in, and you've just basically found a new family. And you're right, like I love the boys. Like this is my family away from my family. Like I don't get to go home very often, once a year in October, and I see my family probably, every 3 or 4 months. So this is my family. My teammates are my family. The people that I walk into the club every day and see, the staff, like it's all one big family. It's a very good place to be.
You went home during the break. You took Clary. Obviously, Clayton Oliver's name has probably been in my Twitter feed more than anything over the last few months. How was it taking Clary up there and giving him an induction into farming life?
It was cool. It was like having a little kid. Like he was just so spun out by the whole dynamic of the farming situation. Like he's a country boy. Like Clary's from like Echuca, Shepparton area, but the farming up there is very different to the farming at home. Where we are, it's very like mass acreage, and because the rainfall is not as good, so you have to have vast quantities of acreage. So he couldn't believe how much you'd say like, oh, we own everything until the horizon, or we've got a block that's 30, 40 k's away or whatever, and he's like, what? Are you kidding? Like, but he loved it. I think it was really cool for me to be able to be a friend of his, and like, because through that time he was obviously, like, his name was all through the media, and I felt like if we could get him out into the country, then he might be able to just breathe and get away from the social media and people, and I think that's one of the things he loved the most was like the freedom. Like there's not very good cell phone reception at the farm. There's no one walking down the street looking to bother you because no one knows where you are. So I think it was just good for him and I to both be able to get somewhere comfortable and just take a deep breath and just chill out. I thought he was only going to come for like 3 or 4 days, but he ended up coming for about 8. So, he loved it, and my family were fantastic. And, he and I are definitely closer for that experience.
Are you big on the socials? Do you read much?
No, not really. No, especially in the off season. I try and stay away from footy talk as much as I can, because when you're in the nitty gritty of it during the season, it can consume you a little bit. So especially in the off season, you try and switch it off a little bit and get back to your roots.
Yeah, it's funny. People always talk about what's happening in the media and culture and these sort of things. Everyone always says like outside the 4 walls, or whatever Clary's expression was on with that interview with Daisy many years ago. But do you actually find that you don't speak about it as much inside?
I feel like you don't really have to speak about it, because like you have to acknowledge that when there are issues, like there are issues, and obviously you want to hit them on the head, but like at the same time, like we have one another's best interests at heart. Like everyone is looking out for everyone all the time, and we know what is going on inside the 4 walls. So regardless of if it's positive, negative, or neutral, I feel like you can come in every day knowing yourself how the love is and how the culture is, and regardless of what's going on outside, you can kind of sleep at night knowing that everything's going to be all right. And if it's not all right, then you got 45 players and just as many staff members who are going to wrap their arms around you, and everything is going to be all right.
Season's nearly here now. Obviously, we've seen some good performances from some of the younger guys. Who've you got your eye on? Who's someone that fans can watch out for?
I reckon Caleb Windsor is going to be an absolute jet. I think he was picked 7 this year in the draft, and he has got so many good attributes. Like he's got so much X factor. He's fast. He can run all day. He's quite tall. I think he's going to be a really good player for us.
He's an absolute lock for round 1. I don't think anyone would doubt that. What's he like off the footy field?
He's pretty quiet. Yeah, he's pretty reserved, and I guess as most people are in their first year, but he just goes about his business, and he doesn't say too much, but he's a great kid. I feel like the club's been able to pride themselves on like drafting really good character people, and Leb's no exception. He's a he's a great kid and a superstar player.
You've got obviously younger guys like Jacob Van Rooyen who are sort of coming up to probably a really important season. He's got a big role. Are you excited to see some of those guys get a chance with a lot of expectation?
Yeah, and another great character, and another guy who's got some incredible strengths. I think we forget with guys like him, like he's only 20 years old.
Yeah, and for a key position player.
100%, you know. So yeah, I'm excited to see not just this year, but how much Rui can develop and I guess like excited to see what player he can become.
And yourself, obviously coming off a good year last year where you were able to really get some consistency. Obviously, the few years before that, sub a fair bit and in and out of the side. You must be keen to just get a bit of a second year on the back of what you had last year.
Yeah. Last year it was a pretty cool experience for me. It was different. Like you said, after like a few years of knocking the door down and not really playing too much, and then to get a few opportunities last year to play, it was pretty cool. And then just hoping to build on that again this year. And if I can have a season like I did or better than what I did last year, I'll be pretty happy.
What was it like when you sub or you're running on the ground after the game when the boys are in singing the song and eating pizza? Like then you got to front up for the VFL the next day, and obviously you got to study for your potential AFL opponents. You got to study for your VFL opponents. What's it like being on the fringe like you were a couple of years ago?
It's a cool place to be because like as a younger player, like I think I was only 21 at the time, so it was a cool place to be because you get to immerse yourself in the AFL. Like you get to travel with the team and everything, and you still get the opportunity to play and play VFL against some really quality opponents. It was also at the same time it was really difficult because sometimes you'd be like an emergency in Perth, and then not get to play, so then you'd be on the red eye back to Melbourne, and then you'd play VFL the following day. So there was some tough times, but at the same time, like that's what makes you hungry. You're like, oh, I don't want to be doing this. Like I want to be out there playing with the big boys. So it was both like something that was really cool, but at the same time, like it made me hungry to play AFL every week.
What was it like being close to the grand final? Obviously, that side was probably pretty set for most of the year. You probably weren't thinking a couple of weeks out that you were going to play in the team. But what was it like being on the edge of that, seeing the success? You talk about hunger. I'm guessing that would have contributed, but how did you find that?
Yeah, well, I was an emergency, which was cool. Obviously, like you're in the rooms with the team beforehand. You sit in on the meeting and stuff.
You were the most nervous-looking bloke in that room.
Oh well, yeah. It was I had never really seen a final until then. Well, I hadn't seen a final until then, and that was next level. It was so cool. It was, being an emergency, you got like the grand final badge on your jumper, like printed in that, which I've still got at home. It's a pretty cool thing to look back on and reflect. Even though I didn't play, it was amazing to be around the team and see like what kind of preparation guys go through. Like I said, like I was a young player at the time. And yeah, it was pretty cool to see how guys go about their business, and I honestly felt like I played in it. Like there was Goody always talked about like how it takes a squad to win a flag, and he's absolutely right. Like the guys who didn't play felt like they were amongst it, and probably celebrated as if we did win. It was very cool to be a part of. Obviously, didn't get a medal, but like that's what we're striving for this year.
Yeah. That main training session, like a week out from the grand final, where it was basically the ones v the twos. I think you were probably bog in that game, actually.
Twos won that game, actually.
Yeah, and you absolutely tore it up. There was a goal you kicked on the run from about 60. What was that like? It was like a dark night at West Coast training ground.
Yeah, it was a twilight session. Yeah, that was awesome.
One of the more intense sessions you've
been
it
was. Yeah, so the week leading up to the granny, like I remember Spargs like twisted his ankle, and I was thinking like, oh, I'm going to play here. And then I seen him running around the outside there. I was like, oh, no, he's gonna be all right. I reckon Majak tackled Clary, and Clary like hurt his shoulder, and like the boys were like everyone was just cracking in like as if it was like a practice match or like we were training it.
Majak was in the form of his life.
It didn't seem. Well, so Aaron Vandenberg turned into prime Chris Judd. Yeah. Like we had Tommy Sparrow and James Jordan.
And Aaron Vandenberg could tackle.
Yeah, he was an absolute human. Tommy Sparrow, James Jordan were just taking the absolute mickey. I don't know, but I guess like the thing with that was, you had the ones boys were playing, were training to like they were training to train and training to play, but at the same time, like, it's training.
Yeah.
Whereas with the twos boys, like, we were training and that was our game because there was no VFL, there was no game for us. So that was our outlet. Like, Wednesday night, in Perth, like, beautiful conditions, like, that was our game. So that was, we claim that we beat the Premiers the week of the grand final, but I'm sure if we were playing 4 quarters, they would have smoked us.
How did you find the year before 2020, obviously the hub, you were playing in the twos and like you said, there was no real VFL. So back then it was like, St Kilda, Melbourne, North and Collingwood, just mix your teams, go play on the second ground at Maroochydore because the under 16 girls had the main ground, like weird stuff. I goal umpired one of those games.
Yeah.
Like, it was wild.
Yeah,
How did you find that?
So that was my second year. And a lot of people had like some negative connotations towards the hub. And I actually kind of enjoyed it. Like, I was a young player. I wasn't expecting to play AFL. I was in a new position as well. Like, I played as a defender that preseason. So, and there was so many weird things that you just had to adapt to on the run. So I played a game in a Fremantle Guernsey in Cairns. Like, that was one of the most bizarre things.
Cairns was bizarre.
Yeah,
that was a weird 5 days.
It was a weird trip. 2 games in 5 days.
Yeah.
Some wild weather.
Getting off the plane, I think we were about 3 hours out from the game when the plane landed.
Yeah, no, it was crazy, and crazy weather as well, as you could imagine. But yeah, no, it was wild. Like, but I guess like the thing that we just like kept honing in on was like the team that can adapt the best. Like, will hopefully be able to perform the best. So it was different and it was eye opening, and I think that it actually laid a lot of, even though we didn't win that year, I think it laid a lot of foundations for our success the following year.
Yeah, we finished 9th that year. It was probably misleading in the end.
Yeah. I think we lost 3 of the last 4 or something to miss finals. Or it was something like that.
Yeah, I think we pinched the last 2, essentially. There was a game at the Gabba against GWS. Trent Rivers kicked the winner.
Yeah.
And then the last game, I think it was Essendon up at Gold Coast. But with the 2 in Cairns.
Yeah, we lost 2 in Cairns, yeah.
So, obviously, you were trained as a defender that year. You're now back to a small forward, which is probably where you're comfortable. But there's a real, there's competition for spots, and that has kind of always been the case. You've got, obviously, Alex Neil-Bullen, Cozzy Pickett, Charlie Spargo, like so many guys that want that exact role.
Yeah.
I feel like you work together very well, even though, obviously, you're up for each other's spots. But how have you found it?
It's a bizarre one, like you talk about, like competing against your best mates for that spot. Like, you spoke about those guys, and they're probably like some of my closest mates at the club. And you're really happy for them when you want to play, but at the same time, it's like a balancing act. Like, you're trying to, like, you want to be the one that plays, but like, I wish everyone could play, because I feel like when we're out there together as well, like we seem to bounce off of one another quite well. But yeah, like you said, like there's only a certain amount of spots, and there's some great talent coming up as well. So it's going to be even hotter this year. How
is that group at training? Like, Cozzy, the goals he kicks aren't a fluke because he puts so many hours into them. Like,
he's stupid good.
You kick, how many like left foot from 45 did you kick last year? Like, nearly in the pocket, on the boundary. Like, it's because you guys work on it. Yeah. And so everyone's got their own craft. How much time do you put in at Casey, like these extra sessions to practice? Yeah.
I guess like that, it comes back to like those guys, like we're ultra competitive, but we also have like each other's best interests at heart. So we're always like trying to make each one another better. If someone sees something in my game or I see something in someone else's game that I think, oh, maybe just try this differently, it all comes from a place of love and like care, and we always want the best for one another. And we'll like, if I make him better and he makes him better, then the team's going to be better, So, there's a lot of work goes into it, and we're all out there trying to help each other get better.
Are you a student of the game? Like, do you watch a lot of footy? Do you study?
I don't really. I watch footy when like I've got like a friend or someone playing. Like, I'll probably watch a game or 2 a week. Sometimes I won't watch any. It also just depends on our schedule, but like, I like to switch off as much as I can. But yeah, like I'm good mates with Zach Bailey, so whenever Brisbane playing and he's usually playing well, I usually like to turn on the TV and see what he's up to.
How do you go playing against people like you obviously got friends that you create through those draft years, and then you come up against people all the time. I always found that when I was playing cricket, like obviously park cricket's pretty different to AFL, but you play against the same blokes every year, twice a year. Like you get to know them pretty well.
Yeah, it's the same concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, you do. And I guess like all of us have got the same job, you know. So there's a lot of common ground, I guess. Like, and you go through so many different pathways in the AFL system. Like, there's so many different pathways and like avenues, I suppose, to get to the big leagues. And I think like you look back on, there's a photo of like the Vic Metro, and it's like got Clary, Track, Salo, and all those guys who come through. They've known each other forever as juniors. And yeah, like I said, like the AFL system is just one big pool of everyone that's got the same job. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then when you come up against someone who you've known forever, that's pretty cool as well.
Are there guys in particular you like playing against? Like, is there much talk out there?
No, not really. I haven't really. The few guys that I've known for a long time in the AFL system are generally at the other end of the ground. So yeah, like Zach's, he's obviously a half forward, so he's usually out there on the ground, and there's always like good chat after the game. But yeah, I haven't really had anyone get right into me.
Maybe that's to come.
Yeah, probably.
Brooke, my partner, messaged me today. She said, you need some questions for Chin. I was like, not really. And she sent them through anyway. So first up, she had your favourite restaurant.
My favourite restaurant. There's actually I'm going to go a little bit left field here, and there's a place called Fired Up Pizza on Clayton Road. It's in a car park, and it's very authentic Italian-made pizza, and he's got like a wood oven on a trailer. So Fired Up Pizza, it's one of the best pizzas I've had in Melbourne.
Have to give that a go.
Yeah, it's good.
Her other question was about your girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So she just wanted some details. How's that all going?
Yeah, going well.
I dare say 99% of the listeners aren't interested. But
no.
To be honest, Brooke might be the only listener, so 100% could be. Don't know how well this is going.
Nah, so yeah, she's going well. My partner Amy, she moved in from Adelaide, originally from Adelaide. We've known each other for a fair few years. Been together for 8 months now, and yeah, she moved in the new year. So yeah, it's all going well. She's liking Melbourne so far.
Very good. Opening round coming up against the Swans. What do you make of opening round?
Yeah, it's cool. It's going to be cool to see some old teammates up there in Sydney, Broads and JJ. So yeah, it'll be good to see some familiar faces, and this time of year I'm pretty sure it's going to be nice up in Sydney. So yeah, should be good.
Have you been in touch with JJ at all? He was one of those ones that we mentioned was in that draft year as well.
Yeah, I've been speaking to him a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be bizarre seeing him in a different Guernsey, because like I said, like we got drafted on the same day and spent 5 years together. So yeah, it'll be different, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see him and Emily, and yeah, catch up with them.
You obviously have teammates and they get traded, and you talk about how close a bond you have when there's 45 together. How much do you stay in touch with the guys that do leave?
Yeah, it probably all depends on the relationship you've got with that player, I suppose. But like I caught up with Sam Wiedemann today for lunch, and he hasn't been at the club for a few years now. But I guess like there's so much turnover in the AFL. Like sometimes there's 9 new guys in, and different guys out. So it can be different. Like I've been at the club for 5 years and probably average 5 or 6 new players every year. So I probably already had 30 old teammates. So it can be hard to keep in contact with all of them.
And then you got Casey guys roll through as well. And
yeah.
You get to know a lot of people.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, which is the wonderful thing about footy clubs. But at the same time, like I guess you do have to look at it from a business perspective, and guys go their own way for different reasons. And yeah, I guess it's just like if you make relationships like I made with Guido and JJ, and to be able to hold on to those friendships, I guess that surpass football, then that's it's pretty special.
Speaking of Casey, your Scorps tat is sticking out, obviously on the back of the flag.
Yeah.
What was the decision behind the Scorp tat?
You can blame Jimmy Munro for this. He was our spiritual leader down at Casey, back to back, best and fairest, a truckload of games and a truckload of tackles.
Great character.
Yeah, cult hero down at Casey, and he and I spoke about getting a Scorpion. Obviously, Casey used to be the Scorpions, so we kind of just thought stuff it. We'll go get a tattoo. And I think he's got a red one on his back, and I got this one on my arm. But it's kind of like a premiership tat without being a premiership tat.
Quite a prominent position too. Just
Yeah.
wear it with pride.
Oh, yeah. Well, when the lady come out with the stencils originally, this was the smallest one. And I was like, I didn't, and she took probably 15 minutes to do it. And I didn't want to say, can you go even smaller again? Because I'd already been sitting there for 40 minutes. But can't complain. It's pretty cool. It's a good little reminder.
So you didn't want to wait 40 minutes to push back something that you're going to have on your arm for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Any other ink?
Yep. I've got 7. I was trying to be as subtle as I could until this one.
Minus the scorp.
Yeah, minus the scorpion. You wouldn't know because, I didn't want to be too out there. But they're all sentimental. They all mean something. I've got a couple under the Guernsey that you wouldn't be able to see. But they all either mean family or where I come from.
And D's flag going next to it, or what's the plan?
We'll see how we go. Yeah, that might be a bum cheek type setup. I don't know. We'll see how we go. Yeah.
Before we wrap things up, you obviously mentioned Angus Brayshaw a little earlier, recently departed the club. How was that internally? How did everyone take it?
Oh, well, at the time, like, it was like gut-wrenching. It still is gut-wrenching. It's still quite raw for a lot of us. Like, Gus has only been away for like 2 weeks now. So, we still walk in and he's still, still got number 10 Brayshaw. He's still got a few loose hats and stuff in his locker. So, it's as if he's going to rock up. It's a little bit of a heavy pill to swallow, especially for the guys that have been at the club for a while now. He's such a charismatic, empathetic, I guess like leader, but he also just like cares so much. He's got, if I had to describe him, he's like a glue person in the club. Like he's got his finger on everyone's pulse. He's such a good people person. He's beautifully articulate with the way that he's able to construct arguments and sentences and stuff with with how we talk about our culture, and he epitomizes our culture. And to not have him at the club anymore, well, he's still going to be at the club, but to not have him run out with us, he's probably top 2, if not 1, as our on-field leader and general as well. And he was one for always bringing the boys in to have a deep breath, or he was always one to say, we've got to fix this up straight away. Like, he was just so selfless. Didn't really matter how he was going himself. It was always about the team. He's from a beautiful family. He's got a beautiful partner. But it's just going to be, incredibly sad and to not have him at the club. And I'd say that he's one of the most irreplaceable, not just players, but people that we've got in the club at the moment. So, I guess it's time for the troops to rally a little bit and do our best to make up an Angus Brayshaw.
The hardest thing would be going from being a full-time AFL player, like we spoke about. It's such a different job to then going to wake up in the morning and not walk into the club and not train and not be in the change rooms. Like, obviously you get to 32, 33 and you start to think about it, but to be sort of hit with it, that must be the hardest thing for him.
Yeah, he was literally training with us like the week before. So I guess if it was something that had, progressively gotten worse and worse, and he was missing a few days here and there, and the writing was kind of on the wall for a few of the boys, like, it might have been a different reaction. But because he was literally, training, we were all expecting him. He was going to play like round 1, and then for him to be sick is what he told us, and then to roll in and tell us all the way they did, like, it was a smack in the face. Like, the poor guy, like, it would be so difficult for him to be able to, come in every day for what his life has been over the last 10 years and what he's known for the last decade, to just be taken away from him. Like, it's so cruel. But I guess if there's anyone that's going to take it, it would be him. Like, he's got his stuff together, and if there was anyone who was gonna, if there's going to be anyone who is more prepared for life post footy, it would probably be him. Yeah,
100%. Yeah, very smart guy.
Yeah.
Just before we finish things off, obviously a really hard thing about starting a podcast is coming up with a name. Uh,
I did notice this.
what are your thoughts on the watch?
I think it's hilarious. For anyone that's listening to this episode, Gibbo wears this massive gold Nixon watch that didn't work for half a year. And I'm surprised he can lift his right arm with it. It's the face of it is about 4 inches wide. He wore it all throughout his time at the D's and copped smack for it pretty much every day. So
Someone tweeted me not long ago abusing me about it. Just randomly.
yeah, and fair enough. To be honest, fair enough. No, I like what you've done with it.
I mean, if Nixon's wanting to sponsor, more than happy. Then
Hey, that'd be great.
I'll give you one as a sponsor.
I'd love that. But yeah, no, I love what you've done with it, mate. It's good. It's good to see you, and I'm glad you're still doing what you love. It's good.
Thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. Also, got to mention Homeland. They're letting us use this studio. They were where I did my studies back from 2016 to 2018 as a uni student. I did a Bachelor of Sports Media degree. They haven't asked me to plug them, but I will anyway because it was a great degree. And this studio setup, it's probably better than anything we had on Gus and Gorney. So,
Well,
I reckon Max and Angus will be listening, and if they are, this is the standard.
Yeah, well, I'm wrapped as well because I live 5 minutes up the road, so I can't complain at all.
Very good. Chin, great to see you. Really appreciate your time, and good luck for the season.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.